Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Flying Model Rockets. I've been certainly hoping and praying that I could find some sponsor to help me to fund this or to find employment, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So this may end up being, and I hope not, but this is probably going to be my last model rocket put together. So enjoy it. It's skill level 2. It's an old Estes design. It's called the Photon Probe. Photon Probe. Okay, so enjoy. I'm going to open it up now. Apologize for the cricket. Decided to come visit me. And here are the items. Of course, the wonderful cover sheet. Nose cone, engine tube, body tube, the instructions, the laser etched fins, and it's nice, some of them are already coming out of here. And this notified me that I ended up probably with a plastic nose cone instead of a balsa nose cone, which is fine. Here's the nose cone. And then inside this packet it includes the engine clip, centering rings, just a wide assortment including parachute. So I'll go ahead and open it up as well. Very nice decals. I like those. Warranty. And like I said, parachute. Heavy duty shock cord. Some more balsa fin material. Some more rings and centering rings, and there we are. So now, what they have you do is they have you sand I've already used this. Sand your fins. Then we take them out of the balsa by cutting the tabs. Alright. Next, what we need to do is we need to sand these things. So we line them up. Oops. Okay. Next, you need to mark your engine holder, engine tube, 1 inches and 2.5 inches from the end. And I hope I kept my ruler handy. There it is. So I go 1 inch and 2.5 inches. And what I want to do is I want to move this 2.5 inches over. And next, you take your razor knife and you put a little 1/8 hole in here. You can use your centering ring. I mean your ring to keep it from going in. There it is. Then your engine clip goes into that. Okay. And then next you have this little ring that slides on and will hold this in place, and it goes down here. But again, I like showing you that little helpful tip trick. Again, I should have brought masking tape, but put the tape on there. I left my wood glue upstairs, so I'm going to use white glue. It still works. Again, I recommend wood glue. You slide it down until it stops, and that's what that tape is for, to cause it to stop. Take the tape off, put glue dry. Then we have our thruster ring, and it'll go into the end. Don't put in a lot of glue, but you can put a little bit of glue on the inside. And I usually like to add a little bit of glue to the ring itself. And you just push it down. Alright. Next we have these 2 rings. They have little tabs you can cut with your razor knife or whatever. I usually like to just, again, very gently sand the edges. One of them has a little tab in it, see? And the other one doesn't. Okay. The one with the little tab is the one that glues down to this end of the ring, because you have to be able to pick this thing up. And that's what the little open tab area is for, so that you can this will slide on right here. Again, the one with the little will slide on so that it goes over that mount. Goes right up against that ring. Then we're going to add a fillet on both sides. And I'm going to have to let that dry. And then the other one will go right down here and should stop up against this end piece right here. Now this one might cause a little bit of problem because it might not be even all the way around. But you try to make it even. Then again, you add the fillets. And then we need to let that dry, and there it is. As you see, the one with the, there it is, let that dry. Now while that is drying, I can go ahead and cut out the fin marking guide, which is right here in the instructions. And what we're going to do is we're going to overlap, but I'm going to cut this edge off here so it has matching lines, so that you match up the lines. So I'll pick either end of my body tube as the end, doesn't matter. And I'll line up those matching lines. Let's see, just like that. Alright. Then it says mark them as a fin. And you mark both sides. Fin. Launch lug, and I usually like to mark LL. So I know that's a launch lug. Fin. And fin. And again, if you've been watching my episodes regularly, I just have this board, it's square here, and I bring it out from the table just equally, and I use that as my mark. For my fin guide. And the launch lug comes up quite a ways, so I will come up here and mark the launch lug. Fins. And I'll now glue on the fin. And you want perpendicular, and I'm going to add just a little dab of glue. By the way, this cut edge right here is the bottom, the flat edge is the top. So I'll apply a little bit of glue along there. And I usually go to one side, as I've told you before. I go to one side, either pick the right or left. This time I'm going to pick the right side and line it right up against that line. Check to make sure it's perpendicular. And I set it down, let it dry. Now I'll need to go through the steps for the other 4 fins, but I shall do that and I will be back. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of out of the picture, but these fins are drying. But as they're drying, the next step is actually to bevel the ends of these at 45 degrees. And actually get a thing and measure it at 45 degrees. Or you can just take a look at it. Do approximately 45 degrees. Trim the end off. So it's about 45 degrees. See that? Okay. And then you're supposed to do the other end. .45 degrees. Okay. The two ends, 45 degrees to each other. Okay. And then you're supposed to sand it. And I guess I misplaced my sandpaper. You do it for each one of these. A little bit harsh. So you cut all of them, 45 degrees, then you sand them, and then you're going to be ready for the next step, but I still need to let this dry. I've cut all of them at 45, and now I'm going to sand them. I find out it's best for me to even them up by getting them all about the same. Sand them together. And let's do it. Now you see I've got them all right there, 45 degrees to each other, to the two ends. And the next step will actually be to glue them right up here in alignment with the fins, but we need to mark the depth. And I didn't do that in front of you. We need to glue them along this line, but we need to find out the distance. So we shall do that. I forgot to show you one of the steps that is kind of important. You can actually aerofoil these fins, but in the instructions it tells you to take your fins, including these that are already on here, which I've already done, and you round the top of them. What's the leading edge? In this particular case, the leading edge is this part right here. And in these, again, it's the longer side, and you just round them. And on these, it's just one side of them. Doesn't matter which side. Well, the long sides. One of the two long sides. It looks like actually the longer side, which there's a slightly longer side. It's the smaller side is the smaller long side. Side that gets rounded. Okay, and again, these fins need to be done at the top table. I just failed to show you. Then the next step will be to glue them onto these, and I'll be back for that. The next step is to actually mark these things so we can put these small fins onto these and then onto the body. It's just putting these things onto the body first, but I actually like to put these on before they go onto the body, and that way I'm pretty sure I got them all lined up correctly. It says to mark one end of it as an end or north or top or whatever. All I'm going to do is put a little line across all of them right here. That's all I've done, just put a line there. Next it says for the ends lined up, it needs 5/8 of an inch. And actually, if I have some tape, me just do that. A little piece of tape. Line them up. Put them together. 5/8 of an inch from the, not the beveled end, not the bottom, but from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the next one is 2 3/8. 2 and 1, 2, 3/8. And then we want to make sure that that comes across here straight. So I'll just draw a line there. There we are. So we've got those attached now. Next thing we want to do is we want to glue the smaller fin from this line up, and the upper fin from this line up is what it shows in here. Yeah. So again, we beveled the top using some wood glue. And I center it on there. Then I take a top one, pick up some wood glue, it's hard to determine how to be consistent with these smaller ones though. It looks like it bevels up and outward. Let me show you that. See how it kind of bevels up and outward? Okay. The top one's easier. And again, you want to make sure that they're straight up and down, or at least in line with each other. That might be an idea. Just tip them down. With those drying, and I've added some fillets to these. And I should have marked this at the beginning, but I didn't. It says 2 3/4 and 4 inches down. Two 3/4 and 4 inches down. Go 4 inches down on the launch lug. Okay, launch lug is here, 4 inches down. And then to 2 3/4 inch right here. And I actually have a neat device here that I can use to transfer that. Or I measure it on all of them, 2 3/4. Yeah, 2 3/4. And that's where these things are going to go, 2 3/4 down. Okay. So when these things dry, which are still gluing right now, I'm going to just move these on down 2 3/4, and then at 4 inches is where the launch lug goes, which I'll put on later. Okay, 2 3/4. Looks like I missed one there somehow. Yeah, it was too far. Yep. 2 3/4 inch from the end, and that's it. And we shall be back. Now with these little fin sets dry, you can attach them to the body tube at the two and 3/4 inch mark that we had, and we wanted to line up with the fin. Since I put this thing on the left side of this line, I'm going to have to offset it a little bit, but that's alright, that's still fine. So I'm going to get my wood glue. Best if I put it on something. This will work fine. And I put the end right at that mark. Press it down a little bit. And this is a little thicker than the fins, so we kind of have to see if the fins themselves are lining up. And that'd be the way to go. So I push that on there, glue all of them, and put them around. And that'll be the next step. I guess these fins are what make it skill level 2. So we shall be back after I've added the others. Now with the fins dried, and I'm going to add fillets around all these, it's time for us to put on the launch lug. We've marked where the launch lug should start, right about here, and go along this line. And again, I'm doing everything to my left side. You'll see it on your right side of the thing. He recommends that you sand launch lug a little bit to allow better adhering, because there's a waxy film on that. It gets down to the paper. Get a little drop of glue. Find that sanded side. Should be about right there. And then attach it as straight as you can, halfway between those fins. And as straight along the tube or along that line as possible. Just like that. And we're going to let it dry. And while that is drying, we have a couple things left to do. We have the nose cone, and this has a little bit of a ridge on it. And I also want to see how well it fits in the body tube. That fits nicely, so I'm not going to worry about sanding this. I'm just going to leave it on there because it's snug enough. But I will sand the nose cone to get rid of some of the fin, or you can use a razor knife to take off the flashing. Either one's fine, but I like to do a little bit of sanding. You don't want anything with real strong grit. This is probably too strong for it, but all right. Now it shows having a this is made with a balsa nose cone, but they don't have it. So what you're going to do is you're going to attach the shock cord to this piece, and you see there's a little eye there. Well, it's kind of filled, so I'm going to have to knock it out. Actually kind of cut it out. Without cutting the eye off. And I want to get rid of some of the flashing around that because I don't want to cut the shock cord. Then what we do is we just tie the shock cord on there. A little difficult, this is a strong shock cord. As a matter of fact, I think first thing I want to do is I want to attach the... No, I actually want to stick the shock cord through there. Well, let's do the parachute. Because they both have to go to that little hook, or I can tie an extra string on there or something. Open up the parachute, find the lines, make sure that they're pulled out straight. You have the loops. Stick the loops, all three of them, through that. Open them up like this. Take the parachute, slide it on through, snug it tight. Then slide it down overside. We'll try to get the shock cord put in there. And I got through. Then what you want to do is you just want to tie it. And it's good to have two knots. I usually add some glue right to the knots to keep them from undoing. You don't have to. This will work. Okay. And you may want to trim off the excess. It's up to you. So now that's done. Then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut our shock cord mount out. And again, it's here in the instructions. Hopefully you can see those, and I'll just cut them out with a razor knife or a pair of scissors. hey, what you want to do is take this shot cord. I'm going to put some glue on here, and I'm just going to use the leftover yellow glue. Put in section 1, put my cord on it, and I'm going over to one side. You don't have to do that, but I've discussed in previous videos how to attach these, and everybody has a different method. And we fold it over, squeeze it, and I'm going to get a little bit more glue. On there. I'm actually going to put some behind the cord because I like to do that. Right there behind the cord. And fold that over along the line. Squeeze it down. And while I let that dry, I'm going to put in the engine block. And the engine block is, I'm just reviewing the instructions here. The engine mount really needs to have a couple of places for the glue. We need to be inside a little bit so that when this top part slides in there, it grabs the glue and creates a little ring around it. And then we also have to make sure there's some glue here to grab this one. So I'm going to get, I like using the end of this. And they say you need to go in about 1.5 inches. Okay. I'll go in about 1.5 inches. Apply some glue. And then I'll start sliding, I'll start sliding this one in. I won't go in all the way though. Then what I want to do is I want to put some glue in after I've started it. And some people do, some people don't. Because you can glue the end, but I find out that if we can put a little bit of glue here, it helps as well. Get a little bit more glue out. Slide that in now, because then it'll pick up that glue. And then you want to slide it till this one is flush. And if you're not too sure, you can just take something and push it up against it like that. And then I'm going to let that dry, but then once that dries, I put a little fillet of glue inside. I don't have to. A little fillet of glue inside down here against that ring. But this actually would hold it. So again, let that dry. Now my last step, very last step, is to come in here inside the body tube at least 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches should be about right here. And that's where I'm going to, which is about pinky's length, which is where this piece is going to glue to. And what I want to do is I just want to get a whole batch of glue. Now again, I've discussed various ways to do this. If you put this side up against the body, it's fine. Put this side against the body, it's fine. I like putting this side against the body. Okay. I bend it a little. And then I go in there about the distance I need. And I press it down. Again, you can take another stick or a marker or something, and you can push that against the body tube. Okay, it's in there. And then what we're going to do is, again, we're going to let all this dry. You know, I've got the launch lug on. I'll have to add fillets around it. I've got the engine mount in. We've got the nose cone on the shock cord with the parachute attached. And I will be back with the final details. And now, since everything had the opportunity to dry, I have my launch lug, my fins on there and everything. You need to mount the shock cord. Next step would be to widen this a bit. Okay. Would be to pack your chute. First, put in your recovery wadding down in here, usually through the top, because this is a larger body tube than the engine, so you do want to make sure that your recovery wiring covers the entire interior here. Next, I usually just gently fold up the parachute. I don't wrap the cords around it. That's just me. However, some people do, and it just takes longer to open. It's all right. We start shoving all the string and the shock cord down into the body tube. Install our nose cone. And again, I'm not painting this. I might later, but I'm not right now. Insert our engine and our engine igniter, put it on the launch rod. We're ready to fly. So this is the Photon probe. It's an old Estes model, been reissued. You can get it from Estes. I'm not being supported by anybody at this given time or moment. I'm paid for these out of my own funds, and I just wanted to share them with you. I unfortunately I'm going to have to tell you that because if you've read my update, I have been laid off from work. I haven't found any employment. I don't know whether or not I will find employment or not. But this will be my last video. And it's been a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy these. And if you want to send, again, prayers or positive thoughts our direction that I may be able to continue to do this in the future, I would appreciate that, especially if I can find employment. Again, your prayers and your positive thoughts coming my direction would be greatly appreciated. Meantime, enjoy and bless you all.